Hi, everybody, and welcome again to Sylvia Bruce and Peter Abrahamson talking about mental health in general and mental health and well-being in business in particular. And I have to apologize about those lines of light coming down in front of my face. That's just because the sun has come up and they go straight through my blinds anyway. So I hope you can cope with that.
Dodgy, yeah.
So I'll be diving and dodging these as the sun moves. We have picked up a couple of things, both of us, the last few days on LinkedIn, posts talking about something new-ish. It's called quiet hiring. So we've had quiet quitting, we've had quiet firing. Now it appears we also have quiet hiring. And reading up on what does that mean, it is hiring someone on a temporary basis to see if there's a need or not. And then if there is, great. If not, the person leaves again. Or it is about using your existing staff for things other than what is strictly in their job description. So you can move them from one department to another and ask them to do things that were not really the intention when they started. To me, that's nothing new. Has just got a new name. What's going on?
It's interesting, isn't it, this word quiet, because as you say, I mean, I've just looked it up the other day because I only heard about this a few days ago. You say the temporary nature of employment, and then that within an organisation, people may be temporarily moved to another role to take on different assignments. You have the the reskilling and upskilling of workforce to fill vacant positions without bringing in new out from outside, and also assigning additional jobs or work to existing employees. And now for me, from a business point of view, that all seems to be what businesses do already. And surely it's good business sense, and it makes sense to, it's good business that you upskill and retrain from within, because we don't want to have the additional costs of always bringing someone in from outside if someone leaves for whatever reason. And if you upskill and reskill, retrain from within, you become seen as an employer that does that. Other people can see that people can get promoted and they can move up the ladder. And it just makes good business sense. And there's also a lot of organisations, when they looking at reducing headcount, they'll take someone, they'll either manage out or make people redundant and split up those responsibilities with other people within those teams to give them the opportunities to grow and develop and change. Now, that's always happened. So I'm a little bit flummoxed as to why we have to call it quiet. Or is it just following on from the trend in the greats? We've had great attrition, we've had great disruption, we've had the great resignation, we've now had the great reimagination, we're now having a great attraction. It's the different names, but there are obvious downsides to all this as well, which I'm sure you'll pick up from the lawyers industry, privacy, confidentiality, and all those things. But generally speaking, it's what happens already, although there will be downsides.
I just think putting quiet in front of those terms, quiet hiring, quiet firing, quiet leaving, quiet resignation, quiet something.
Well, we've got quiet quitting, haven't we?
Quiet quitting, that was the one.
Many quiets.
I think the word quiet comes with connotations of sly and underhand.
Yes.
That is why we have the word quiet, that it's something people do anyway, but it has now been the big reveal of, oh, this is nasty, we shouldn't do this. And I get that. I think quiet hiring, I do not have a problem with it, but just be open and honest about it. Guys, we need to reduce our workforce for whatever reasons. We're not going to fire anybody, for example, but when somebody leaves, we are going to ask those of you who are still here to take on additional duties. That could be one way of dealing with a crisis, for example. If you're open about where the business is and you trust the people within the business, they will help you through. But if you do it on the quiet, which is usually not a good thing, then it becomes something suspicious and nasty. But I spent almost 18 years as a supply chain consultant, advocating cross-training, so that people within departments and within the different organizations within the greater organization could help and support each other in terms of pressure, staff shortages, illness, holiday, whatever, so that you didn't have this single point of failure where one person was absolutely crucial, and if that person wasn't there, the whole thing would fall apart. So if you're open and honest about that, then it's not a problem. And you were alluding to giving people additional jobs and developing them, and that's good business practice. I think it is, as long as you know when you take on the job, this is how we do things here. So it doesn't get sort of sneaked in under the radar. As I said, maybe that's where the term quiet really comes from, that it's underhand practices.
And I think, to your point, the word you used a minute ago, it's done on the quiet. And it's great for business that you might temporarily move someone to another role for all sorts of reasons. You might reskilling and upskilling your workforce. Great for all sorts of reasons. Assigning additional jobs to someone, great for additional reasons. But this point of, and what's popped up for me, there's the choice. It'd be great, but what if someone doesn't feel they have the choice to move to other department or to take on those new skills? Or a lot of employers are quite okay with what they're doing and how they do it. Do they want to retrain? Do they want to be upskilled and reskilled and learn new skills? So I think that for me, the word about choice, and then the choice of what choice do I have if someone says you're going to go to that department, or we're going to retrain you for this, or we're going to give you these additional responsibilities. It's that word choice that comes in, which then can put pressure, can lead to a lot of stress. And what's popped up also is culture. That culture, as you said, if when people come into the organisation, if it's very transparent, the culture here is we upskill, we retrain, we promote, and when people have choice. But if it's all done, as you say, on the quiet, or we'll, take this head count and then we divvy up the jobs, and then the implications on the people there is, what choice do I have here? And what are the consequences of that choice if I say, actually, no, I don't want that additional responsibility, I'm okay as I am? Because we also have to accept in business that there are those people, not everyone wants to go up the tree. And I think that's where this quiet perhaps is coming in. It's done a little bit underhand. Or as I'm talking there, perhaps it's not so much underhand, it's perhaps people aren't giving enough thought, not being mindful of the implications of that on people. Do those people want that? Is that what they want? What are the implications of that? Are they going to feel stressed around that? What's the pressure? Are they going to be able to take that additional responsibility rather than assuming that they can?
Absolutely, because it looks good from a financial point of view to get fewer people to do more, but you can only squeeze so much productivity and activity out of one person. And if the burden gets too great, if there aren't enough hours in the day to do the jobs that you now have, then your mental health starts to deteriorate, and it does it very quickly. And there's also are you taking somebody out of their operational zone and putting them into somewhere where they do not have a clue? And what pressure does that put on you? And you mentioned earlier the legal profession. I know for a fact that in-house counsel are not keen on being put to other tasks other than what they were hired to do because of confidentiality issues. Who are they? Who do they talk to? Do they have to keep things quiet? Will it affect somehow their license to practice law if they operate outside of what they were qualified to do and what their license allow them to do? So employers have to think very carefully if they can just shuffle people around, or it has to be done in an intelligent way and in a transparent way. I actually think most people would be willing to give it a go. But as you said, what about those who are not? Have they just gone and quiet fired themselves, or what has happened there?
And it's interesting as well, you talk about taken on different roles. You know, in previous organisations, it was dubbed or colloquially known as double hatting. You have your job roles and responsibilities, and then you'll be so, well, such and such has left, so we're not going to employ like for like. We're going to divvy up that job and allocate proportions of that to other people. Now that's like, then you become a double hatter. Now that's to a degree okay if those double hatting roles are similar-ish, but if they're very, very different, because one is still expected to do your existing role to the level that your existing performance. So you now have to learn another role, sometimes a very different role, and how, as you said, like in the lawyer's profession, a lot of financial, a lot of organisations where those roles are almost conflicting. From an audit point of view, they're actually very separate, and now we're bringing them together again. So where's that dividing line? And it's very challenging for someone wearing a double hat. Right, now I'm doing that job, and now I'm doing that job, to keep those boundaries. And that in itself can cause an awful lot of stress, pressure. We potentially have people burning out sooner than they would have done. And I think it's a case of just giving a little bit more thought, you say intelligent thought, to what are the implications of this. So it becomes not quiet, it becomes very overt. I don't know whether we call it another name or whether just
loud.
we're loud, whether we do what we do, but we do it more mindfully and more strategically and more openly.
I just have a sneaking sort of final thought on this, that maybe this is leading up to what has also been trialed, the 4-day week.
Yes.
Does that mean that we now do less work, or are we realizing that we're spending 5 days doing what could actually be done in 4 if we put our mind to it? I'm not quite sure what's happening there. It seems as if 4 days a week, that's great. That's a across the board thing that we're now going to be doing. I just know from my past in Denmark, where we reduced the working hours per week over some time. It was at some point meant to get more people into work. Never did. People were just asked to run faster. And maybe quiet hiring is the same thing, get people to run faster. Regardless, I think we need to do what we do in business open and transparently. Then people can make their choices. They can stay, they can go, they can add value, or they can choose this is not for me. So we've been going back and forth on this for a while now. So it would be great if those watching would go back and forth on this topic with us. And we look forward to seeing and hearing your comments when we post this little video. So thank you for watching, and take care, and see you shortly.
See you soon. Bye-bye.